which is just comprised of HTML elements. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do from the PowerPoints is we're going to link our CSS. We don't have it created yet, but we're going to actually, let me get it. Okay, so I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to save as, and go to our CSS folder and save as index.css, and press save. And now we have our, if we look in our folder, our index.css file. Okay, and we are going to link our CSS file in our HTML page. And the way we do that is in the head we open caret link relevance equals style sheet, and that is telling our HTML document that the relevance of the link is a style sheet. Type, it's a text CSS document which reads as text, but it is a bunch of CSS rules, and href, which is the relative length. So in our file structure, since we have our index.html in the base of our folder system, we have to change our folder to the CSS folder. So to do that, CSS / now we are in our CSS directory, and we can link the actual file, which is index.css, and it's the self-closing tag. And let me just make this a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so now when we create styles for our page, we should see them immediately. Okay, the first thing we're going to do, and this is a style that you are going to use in every app you do, or even a website. If you notice, or you can't hear, by default our body has 8 pixels of margin from every side, or the left and top. If you have Microsoft Word, it is just white space from the top left of the page. Okay, so our HTML document has this by default, and we want to get rid of it. So to do that, we just target our body tag and our HTML tag and say padding 0, margin 0, and we obviously want the height and width to be 100%. And this forces our body and HTML to have no padding. And if you see that now everything is flush to the top of the page, and we just have padding from our list items. Okay, so now we have no padding. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to take all of our pages. So like I said, we make divs to create actual pages in our application. We have our main page, we have our add task, and our view tasks. Okay, so we want to copy and paste main page, and default for all pages is position absolute, top 0. Actually, we don't need top. Height 100%, width 100%. Okay, and this is going to be for all 3 pages. So we could copy and paste. And the reason why I'm not putting them in a class is we are going to hide our other 2 pages by default and just show our main page. So we are going to just style these separately, add task and view tasks. And let's go back to our and view tasks, and we are going to hide them by display none. We'll hide the entire page. Okay, and once we save that, you're going to see that everything else is hidden except for our login and sign up buttons that we're going to use as buttons. Okay, so if you have Google Chrome, which you should be using for this, you're going to see that our main page is now the entire height and width of our HTML document. What this does is, say we have a Android phone that is 4 or 5 different sizes, which there are. The main page size automatically adjusts to the size, height, and width of the phone. So it will always be 100% height and width of the phone you're using, whether it's this size or only this size. Okay. So now that we have that all our screens separated, we're going to add a little CSS to make our app look like an app. So we have our main page. We have a logo, so I'm going to get a logo for us. But let's, the first thing we're going to do is make a comment and say main page styles. Okay? And we are going to copy and paste. Now what this does is, for yourself and for when I look at it, I could distinguish between what is styles or elements that lie in the main page, and it's easier to go back and change things, and I can see what styles are in my add task page and what styles are in my view task page. Okay, so now everything is kind of neat, and it's very easy to see. Also, I would use indentation just like I'm using, so if it's hugging the wall or things are out of place, it's very hard to read code. So this is just good practice, is, you know, have some neat syntax and have spacing and indentation, use it properly. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is, like I said, LIs have bullet points by default. So the first thing actually we're going to do is, we have UL class with no padding. Okay, dot no padding. By default, ULs, which is an unordered list, it's a holder for list items. Just to keep it neat, we're going to put list items in the UL, just so when I see a UL in your HTML page, I know that there's going to be a bunch of list items. Okay, so by default there's padding and margin, which bring our list items about 10 pixels off the page. So just like the body in HTML, we want to declare padding 0 and margin 0, and save. And once we refresh, we should have everything hugging the wall. Okay, and we have our LI class buttons, and the only thing we want to declare for them right now is list-style none, which tells our document that we don't want any bullet points. Okay, and just depending on the browser, my Chrome is brand new, so it must have just got rid of bullet points by default once I got rid of the padding. But just to make sure, list-style none gets rid of our bullet points. Okay, so now we have our buttons to log in, and I want them to be somewhere at the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to tell my UL class of no padding, we don't want to have no padding all our ULs that have the class of no padding to be at the bottom. So we're going to give it an ID so I can target it separately. ID main page UL. And now I could have the styles from my no padding and also give them separate styles that is unique to the main page UL, which is very powerful. So now I could have two sets of, I could have like a baseline of styles that I know that I want padding 0, margin 0, and I could also give my main page UL its own separate unique styles. And to get it at the bottom, we give it a position absolute, bottom of 0. And we are going to give it a height of 250 pixels and a width of 100%. Okay, and now you'll see that it's at the bottom of our page and 250 pixels high. Okay, and we're going to change that. I just want to put it there for now. We're going to make it a little less height. So now that when the next time we give a UL the class of no padding, it won't have a position of absolute bottom 0. We can give it its own styles eventually wherever we feel fit. Okay, So now let's style our buttons. We have some LIs, and we want to log in, be able to log in and sign up. So we want to make them look like app buttons. Okay, so I just happen to have these styles that I've used, as baseline styles, so we're going to use them. So let's go back to our dot buttons, and let's give them a width of 90%, a margin of auto, and I'll go over this in a minute. Margin top 20 pixels, height 40 pixels, line height 40 pixels, text align center, and font family, we're going to use Helvetica, and we are going to go over all these styles in just a second. And just type them down. I'll give you a second. Okay, so once that is done, okay, you should see that you have a Helvetica font, and let's give it a background, since right now, since we didn't declare a background, it's just going to be transparent. So background color of white smoke, and a border 1 pic solid D8 D8 D8. Okay, you're going to see you have two app-like buttons. This is like the new Android/iOS style, very flat, and just some border to give it some definition as a button. Okay, so we obviously have a list style of none. We have a width of 90%, which is just the width is 90% of the page. Margin auto. So what this does is, if you could see that half it is completely centered, margin auto says, hey, you are 90%, so go 5% to the left and have a margin 5% to the right, therefore you'll be dead center. So margin auto on an element that's not position absolute, because position absolute will not take this style, will just center your the elements in the middle of the page horizontally. Okay. We have a margin top of 20 pixels, so that means that if we have divs that aren't, or divs or elements that aren't position absolute, and we give them a margin top, it will push 20 pixels top from the element above it, so therefore it gives it space. Okay, so this is good if you have a bunch of list items, you want to give them some margin. This is exactly how you do it. We have a height of 40 pixels. Pretty obvious that it gives our elements 40 pixels of height. Text align center will align our text dead center horizontally. Font family is, there's a bunch of fonts. You can just look online at Google fonts or CSS fonts, and you'll see a whole list of different fonts you could use. Background colors, the background color of our LI, and border is the border of our element. Okay, the only one thing I didn't go over is line height. So line height is how high our line height is vertically. So if I give my line height, let's say 45 pixels, it's higher than our div and will go to the bottom. But if I give my line height the same exact height of my div, it will center it vertically in the element, which is what we want for a button, is to center everything horizontally and vertically. So line height, applying line height will center a element vertically in a element. Okay, so that's strictly just for fonts and stuff like that, and text. Okay, so we have our buttons. Okay, and let's go to CSS Colors, and we can look up CSS Colors, and they have tons and tons and tons. So what I want to do is give our background something a little lighter than what I used for my border, which is E8, E8. So you could use all these. These are all hexadecimal colors. You could use red, green, blue as like English colors, or you could use RGB. But hex is, just as easy, and there are 16 million different color combinations you could use. So there's no shortage of colors. So let's give our body a background color of E8, 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 and just to make it a little less plain, Okay, and now we have some color for our background, and it's still not as dark as our borders, so we could see the borders of our buttons. And the reason why I'm leaving these lighter is when we press these, we are going to use JavaScript to make them change colors to look like they're being pressed. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, so we're kind of done with this page for now, and we're going to come back and give it some pop-ups when we use JavaScript and to give us a login page and a sign-up page. And maybe let's add our logo div ID logo, and so let's go above our no padding because it appears before no padding in our HTML. So logo, position absolute, top 0, left 0, height 300 pixels, width 100%. And when we refresh our page, okay, so this will be just a placeholder, and we know that we are going to put our logo there. Eventually, we're going to, maybe in the next video, I will get a logo, and we can just put it there for the time being. And so right now we have just a placeholder. Okay, so now we have our first screen lightly CSS, and we're gonna keep going back over CSS with JavaScript and make it look more and more like an Android application. Okay, so for now we're done with this page. So what we're going to do is go to our CSS, and we are going to hide it, so display none. So now we have nothing there. Now we just have our body. So the second thing we're going to do is go to add task, and let's get rid of display none. Refresh the page, and now we have our add task page. Okay. And let's go to our index.html and see what we have. So we have an add task page. What we're going to do is add a header. So we're going to add a div class header. Yes. Okay. And the reason why I'm making this a class is because I'm going to copy and paste this into our view task div. And now I have a template. So when I CSS this bar and we change change pages, you're going to see this is already done in CSS for us. So the good thing about using classes and elements where you're not going to target them specifically, and it's kind of a template, is by page 3 or 4 in your app, almost half the page is already done because you made a template. So that's good. Okay, so we have our div class of header, and you know what? We're going to go to the top before the main page, and we are going to make this templates. So this is going to be where all our templates go to. This is not specific to any screen. This will be more specific to things like, and I'm going to take no padding out because this is used multiple times. So cut, and I'm going to cut here. And now I know that if I need something from my templates to change, like a more or less, it's a global CSS style, I can find it in my templates. And I'm going to add header to my templates. Header. Okay, so the standard height for a header is 45 pixels. High, position absolute, top 0, left 0, width 100%. And background color 333, which is a charcoal gray. So the reason why I'm making this position absolute is I already know at all times that I want my headers to be at the, and when we do footers, but I'm going to have my headers always at the top of the page. It's never going to move. It always stays there. So therefore, I can make it position absolute, and because it's never going to change. And I always know I want it at the top left corner of my page at all times. The problem with that is that elements that are positioned absolute create a problem where they break document flow. So anything that's not position absolute doesn't read these position absolute divs, and obviously still has styles from the top of the page. So we're going to have to compensate for that. Okay, so we have our UL ID task UL. Let's give it a class of no padding. So automatically, this should get rid of the padding and margins from our previous styles of no padding. So now we have no padding. Okay, and since it has an ID of task UL already, which is good, we're going to copy it and go to our add tasks, and obviously # to target a ID, and we are gonna give it a margin top of 45 pixels, or actually give it 50. So let's not make it hug the corner. So margin top 50 pixels, and like I said in my CSS PowerPoints, is the ID is king. So that means that even though I said up here in no padding, I want no padding or margin, my ID says, hey, I'm an ID, I'm unique, I have precedence over you no matter where I am in my document. I can override you at any time. So I'm just overriding the margin top style and giving it a margin top. So now it's not hugging the top of the page anymore. Okay? So that's exactly why I did that. And now we are going to style our inputs and our text area and our button. So the first thing we're going to do is actually let's give our submit button here and we are going to add a class. So you can have multiple classes. Sorry, hold on. Div ID submit task, and let's give it a class of buttons, and that should give us the same style as our front button. So I don't have to keep writing styles. So you can have multiple style classes to an element. All you have to do is separate them by a space bar. Okay. So now that I gave my button here the same class as the buttons up front, I don't have to sit there and restyle my buttons, and it stays consistent throughout the entire application, because I want my buttons and my layouts to kind of stay consistent with the page. Okay. So now we have that. Let's add some style to our text, our input boxes. So we have input type equals text, ID equals task name. We don't need that for now. Class task input. So we have two or both of our inputs as task input. So we're going to go to here dot task input. Okay, give it a first, actually, okay, margin auto with 90%, and by default on iOS and Android there's a border radius, so we're going to get rid of border radius 0, height 30 pixels because it's actually small by default. We have outline, which is when I click on it, this is an outline, this little yellow glow. We want to get rid of that, and we can always, if you want one, you could always add it later. Outline 0, border 0, and we can give it our own borders if we want. So let's refresh and see what happens. Okay, so now we see that, and just let me see something. Okay, and what we're going to do is, just hold on 1 second. And I forgot, since these are inline block elements, we're going to give it a margin left of 5%, because margin auto does not work on inline block elements. So let's save and refresh, and now we have margins on each side if we just do it manually. Okay, and what we're going to do is give them a border of 1 pix solid, D8, D8, D8. Okay, so I'm keeping the same theme. I'm keeping the same, darkish theme, and I'm gonna go back to my HTML, and I have a task list and I'm gonna give my task list, so everything's not on top of each other. Task list, margin top, 15 pixels, so they have some sort of separation, and they stay consistent. So now I have some sort of separation. It's a little bit too much. Let's give it 10. Okay, so that's actually still too much. So let's give it a margin top of 5 pixels. Okay, so we don't really, that's a little too, okay, somewhere in the middle. Perfect. Okay, so now we have some sort of separation. Again, we're going to go back and make this even better. But for now, we're just lightly CSSing everything, so we have an idea of what to do. Or how to separate your screens at the very least. And let's take our text area ID notes, okay? And if maybe we might have another text area somewhere, so we're going to style just the text area itself in our add tasks section, and margin left 5%, width 90%, height 100 pixels, resize none, and I'll go over what that is. Border 1 pix solid, D8, D8, D8. And let's see what we get. Okay, so what resize none is this. So if I get rid of it, you're going to see you have a little resize handle, and this appears on the phones where you're able to drag your text area and make it bigger and smaller. I don't like that, and there's no reason for it. So I just make it the size I want, and I get rid of all those bars, and now it looks like a regular input. Okay, so right now we have our task title, our notes, and we have 2 task titles. And let's see what. Okay, so let's change one to reminder date, which is what I wanted. Reminder date. Okay, because I made the placeholders the same. I thought they were the same. So task title, reminder date, and now our notes. And let's capitalize notes and make it uniform. And what we're going to do is make our inputs font family Helvetica, because it defaults to Arial, which is a terrible font. And if you guys have ever seen any Steve Jobs movies, he was a big stickler for having great fonts. Okay. And oh, and I just forgot outline none here. So now I won't get this outline, and we're going to create our own outlines to make it look nice. Okay. And 2 other things I want to do, and I think I have them. I don't have it with me. Let's just hide our view task page one more time. Actually, I'm sorry. We're going to show view tasks, and we are going to hide add task, which we are at now. Okay, so save, and we're going to see that pretty much everything's done for us, because this is just going to be data off the web, and we have our template, we have our top bar already, and we have our background of our body. So let's hide that again and just go back to here. Okay, and the only other thing I want to do is in the our header, we are going to add a span class. Actually, let's give it a h1 class title. So this is going to be the same class across the board, and it's going to be the title to all our pages. Okay, and let's give it a name of add task. Okay, and let's also copy and paste and put our h1 title down here and view tasks. Okay, So now we should see both add and view tasks. And obviously we won't see on the other page because it is hidden right now. So let's copy our title and go back to the top of our page in our templates. And let's get rid of the padding and margin that our H1s have by default, because HTML documents have some defaults for elements, and if you look, it has padding, so that's why it's hanging off the top of the page. So I want to get rid of that and give it my own styles with 100%, which it is already. I'm just reinforcing it. Text align center, color white, font family Helvetica. Okay, and let's give it a height of 45 pixels because it's not. And let's see. Okay, and a line height of 45 pixels. Save, and now it should be dead center in our thing in our header, and let's just make the font a little bit smaller because it's absolutely too big. And let's see what we get, and we can make it a little bigger. 23 should be good. Okay, and now we have our add task title. Okay, so this is just lightly CSSing it. There's nothing crazy going on. And if I let's go back and let's hide our add task div, display none, and let's show this once again. Now you're going to see that our template's already there, and no matter how big or how small our screen is, okay, it'll expand with it. So it's a responsive layout that, you know, kind of responds to the size of the phone that we have. Okay, so that's how we separate screens, and we turn them into pages for our application. So the next time we're gonna add some JavaScript and style it more for Android. Okay, thank you.